We just want to make a good movie. We just want to make a movie that entertains us, that I would want to see, that doesn't exclude anybody.
Oh boy, this is gonna be good, I can tell.
Final.
I always believe in research. No matter what the subject matter is, you cannot do enough research because so much believability will come out of what's really there.
I went on numerous field trips and research trips.
Going to the museums to actually take fish out of the bottles and have a look at them close up.
I went to every single person early on in the film and said, you have to get certified scuba diving, you have to go underwater. We cannot make a movie about the underwater world without you experiencing it firsthand.
The design of the coral reef has been really interesting because we had all taken scuba lessons and gone and looked at the coral reef. It was spectacular. Just experiencing the reality of a world like that has an enormous psychological impact and an impact inevitably on the work you begin to create.
People came back just with these eyes like, it was amazing. You know, I said, I told you.
Well, one of the first things I did was I got together with the R&D group and we looked at images of things underwater and we thought, what is it that makes you believe that it's underwater?
We put together our simplest version of an underwater set, almost like My First Ocean, and tried to make that look like it was underwater. Our first test appeared to be either a chlorinated swimming pool or a very foggy day on a heath somewhere in Scotland. We didn't get ocean water.
Each of these individual aspects of being underwater looked great, but we couldn't get them all to work in concert together. And I just picked a couple shots of things above water and things below water from real footage. And I said, okay, using exactly the tools that we have created and nothing else, I want you to see how close you can mimic these actual shots. And they came back a couple weeks later, and they put the two images up, the actual live action footage and then our footage. And I couldn't tell which one was which. We were shocked. I mean, we were elated because it's like, oh my gosh, we did it. I mean, it looks like water. Then we had to sort of pull back and go, wait a minute, it looks too real. We want you to believe that it exists, but we want you to also kind of feel that you're in a make-believe world.
We just push on the story as hard as we can. And we try and buy ourselves as much time as possible to work out every aspect of the story.
It's really important for us sort of at the head of this big pipeline before it gets down to layout and animation and lighting to work this thing out right. And that includes pacing of a film, that includes the emotion, making sure that people are feeling things as the movie progresses.
And on Nemo, Andrew thought he had the magic bullet because he wrote the screenplay himself and had a complete screenplay going into this, which we don't always do. We thought that this whole process was going to be much smoother sailing. But the reality is once you put these movies up in storyboard form, a lot of things come to light that aren't clear when you're just reading words on a printed page.
The thing that finally makes it on the screen is all about rewrite.
Is that funny enough? Make it funnier. Okay.
And a good portion of the rewrite process is not done by the screenwriter, at a word processor or a typewriter. It's the story department. It's the guys that sit in a room with you for close to 2 years, batting out ideas, countering your ideas, drawing up story panels, putting them up on a wall, pitching things, putting things on a reel down in editorial. It's a very malleable, messy, glorious process.
Sometimes it's about doing things over and over and over and over again. And even though I've done this a lot of times, it never fails to
to bring me to that point wherein, oh boy, I don't want to do that sequence one more time.
When it works, it's amazing. The power of what you can do with a group of great minds. But it can also be very, very frustrating because there's not a singular mind at times.
Can you help me?
No. You get yourself in there, you can get yourself out.
When it really got dark and we didn't know what to do, Andrew Stan and I would jump in a car and we'd drive to L.A. You know, instead of flying down to go down and record Ellen DeGeneres or Albert Brooks, we drive 6 hours. But what that would force us to do is to just talk it out with no other distractions. And we worked a lot of good stuff out that way. And when I watch the film now, I can remember where we were on I-5 when this idea was brought forward. In fact, the Nemo initiation sequence was written on one of these trips.
Shark bait. Shark bait! Ooh ha ha! Welcome, brother Shark bait! Shark bait! Ooh ha ha!
We cut the boards together with dialogue, temp music, temp sound effects. It's very important that the experience of viewing the story reels for the audience is going to approximate the experience of viewing the finished film.
Just one point! Good, hey!
We spent a lot of time, we spent years, in fact, honing this story reel to try to create the best, most solid, entertaining template for the movie.
Good, hey!
What we decided to do was to establish a range of underwater color to track the characters through the film. So with the reef, we start with crystal clear, kind of very light greenish turquoise. And as the film progresses, it gets darker green turquoise, and then black, and then blue. And then as we get closer to Sydney Harbor, it becomes greener. The pastels are used to kind of outline the color and the mood and the lighting for the entire film. Here's this morning in Pelicans. I start off again with a big broad stroke color palette. We try and figure out time of day and mood for the film. And then as we move forward and things are getting finalized in story, I go back in and, just visit key shots in a scene to kind of provide a direction for lighting.
He'll put out the inspiration for what the scene should feel like and how it fits into the whole.
We'll scan them in, and then she'll take them and she'll balance the colors a little bit.
And he'll see it later, and he's like, wow, that looks as good as I was hoping it would look, which just, of course, makes me feel like $1 million.
It was by trying to make a shot appear to be like you see when you scuba dive and you're underwater that we came up with a whole bunch of elements that were critical to making a shot feel like it was underwater, which include how it surges and swells back and forth, the particulate matter in the water itself, murk being the fall off of color that water filters differently than air, the caustic lights, which is the light play from the surface that you see in the bottom of a swimming pool, the beams those things go through because water is so much denser than air, you can see the light shafts themselves. Okay, now how is it different being in a reef than being in deep ocean water than being murky in a harbor? Oh, okay. So now you have to find different settings for all those various things again and set the levels again. So you get, harbor water and sewage water and clear open blue ocean water, murky ocean water, bright sunny reef water that's shallow at night and at day and at dawn and dusk.
If you look at fish, it's amazing how little we did have to caricature them because they're so wild in their shapes and forms.
They took a lot of scientific input, but there are some things you just have to do in order to act that fish don't do.
Real fish have the eyes on the side of the head. They don't have eyelids, and they don't blink, and they don't talk. So how do you design a fish that is able to talk and emote and everything that the animators are going to want to put in there? We looked at how dogs emote. The subtle movements of their eyebrows is enough to emote like sadness or happiness.
Neutral.
Excited.
Angry. Stern.
Sad. And it's the same thing with these fish designs. We put enough eyebrow mass in there to really get the nuances of emotion. So I basically now have to flesh that design out, start figuring out the details about the fins and the gills and the mouth and the teeth, and turn her around, draw her from so many different angles. So as I'm developing that character, There are some designs that Andrew really likes, Andrew and Ralph really like, and then they give it to Jerome Ralph, the sculptor here.
We're generating these sculptures to pre-visualize character design. We knock these out in clay, just like this, and we do it as fast as we can so we can get as many changes from the director and the art director, as many as we need.
That's really when the magic happens. Starting to see that 2D drawing come alive in 3D, and it's like I get all this amazing information from it. I start seeing it in a new way. I start turning it around. I look at it from the top and the bottom, because you never know if that's the way they're going to be seen in the movie.
Once the sculpt's done and we get approvals, then it goes on to the modelers, and then they actually start building them in the computer using our clay sculpts as a reference.
Then we would have animators come in and help us figure that stuff out too. So the process is incredible. It's so collaborative.
Sharkbait, you did it!
Yes, Sharkbait, you're covered with germs!
The shader and texture art director is responsible for taking those models, both sets and characters, and giving them life in terms of the scales or textures on the surface of these characters.
Tropical fish die a lot, unfortunately, and so they always have a good supply at fish stores of dead fish. So then we'd take them and we'd slap it on the scanner and we'd hold it up to the light and see what it looked like, and started identifying what the important characteristics are of that fish, what color they are, what kind of texture they are, how they respond to light when lit. So like whether they're shiny or smooth, whether they're velvety or translucent.
So you do like it, don't you?
No. I do. I really do like it.
We had, I think, this bag of tricks as animators for bipedal characters. We'd all carried around with us, even ever since Toy Story 1. It wasn't until we had done the first few tests that we had realized that it's a completely different language. I think for most animators, it takes a good month or two of like pretty intense stuff to really get into understanding what makes a fish feel like a fish and adapting their old bag of tricks to the new bag of tricks. One thing I always equate it to is animating fish is like animating toilet paper underwater, but like muscular toilet paper. It's so loose and smooth everywhere, but then muscularly driven that's a hard thing to do.
One of the first lectures I gave was on how fish move, and I was sort of amazed to get called back just 2 days later to sort of look over some of the things that they had dummied up based on my lecture. And this fellow was showing me how the fish moved and everything. I said, they can't move their pectoral fins like that. That won't look right. A fish can't just sort of do that. He said, you know, Adam, fish don't talk.
It takes a tremendous amount of effort to create something that looks effortless.
You're pushing the envelope, you're stressing your production plan out as much as you can to bang on the story and get the lines just right and get it edited just right.
Crunch time is like almost like literal, It's like you have so much that comes right at the end because you've taken so much time to plus the story.
I think when things get really tough around here and when you start to feel the stress build up, that tends to be when we kind of explode as a group and people just go crazy. We tend to kind of just blow off steam or whatever.
What happened when we moved to this big building is you don't see the people that you used to see all the time. And I think that a lot of us were missing each other and missing that collaboration. It's called the Ugly Contest.
Basically, all of the men have grown mustaches. The women have put eyeshadow on from their eyelids all the way up to their eyebrow, like obnoxious colors. When they're in the building, they have to have it on. When they're outside the building, they can take it off. So I think they actually get away maybe a little lighter because this thing doesn't come off.
I started adding more makeup, and eventually I had the complete face, and then I decided that I'd start to wear different outfits. As the contest went on, people were going out and checking each other out more often, and we did get around to each other's offices and chat and look at each other's work and get feedback and just had fun.
Your hair grows so fast.
I know.
I push my belly button and pull.
That was fun!
On the production, we have what are called shot briefings for the animators. And to be honest, all that is a fancy word for what all directors do with actors. You may be talking about what your character's motivation is, or simply you need to be swimming here, and you suddenly have to be at this point in the frame by the shot's over. Whatever the actor needs to make the scene work.
I remember it. I do. It's there. I know it is because when I look at you, I can feel it. And I look at you and I'm home.
I can say to you, she realizes she doesn't want to be lonely anymore. I don't think she's that articulate, and she understands even that clearly. But I think she's felt it. She just hasn't formed it, right? So it's like forming as she's saying it, right? So she's like, if you leave, it's like basically I will be lonely. But she doesn't even know that yet. She's just like it's going to be bad, right?
There's definitely acting that comes from the voice talent, but it's really people's ability to get inside of that character. You have to know all about it in order to bring a character to life. Otherwise, the character's not alive, it's just moving.
I locked the door, I closed the door, and I put up some pictures of different people or things in my life that were important to me that are gone now, and kind of put myself in that moment for a while, and it was a depressing day. But, and then after a while, after I was really kind of in the moment, I looped the dialogue and I kind of went with it, and then I turned on my little computer camera here.
And I look at you and I'm home.
So working from that has been a great help, and hopefully, since it's coming from a sincere place in me, when it's coming out of Dory in the film, it'll feel like it's coming from a sincere place from her as well.
It's almost like when you show your shot, you're naked and you can't hide behind anything.
So yeah, I haven't shown it to Andrew yet.
It's there. I know it is because when I look at you, I can feel it. And I look at you and I'm home.
She comes across more collected than I think we want her to come across as. My initial response is that you have to have a little more jerky left and right on top of your stuff at the beginning. Some hint, some tell that it's all falling through her fingers right there as she's talking.
There's a lot of this back and forth that happens and this super fine tuning so that you get a really appealing character, and they always feel organic and they never feel computery.
It feels like he's locked in space, hanging from a hook right here. Did you try stretching his neck? Just like a half-beat pause. Oh, like that. If you just swam. Oh, scoot,
Just like, yeah. If we've done our job, you never sense the technology that's behind it. You just get the art out of it. You get the entertainment out of it.
I remember it. I do. It's there. I know it is because when I look at you, I can feel it. And I look at you and I'm home.
Final! Yeah!
I think that the interior of the whale scene is a good example of just an enormously challenging sequence from all avenues. We're inside a whale mouth, most of the time underwater, and the whole whale is underwater, and it's at night. So where does the light come from? You have to invent something that looks believable, shows the action, makes the characters look appealing.
It makes it really hard on lighting to have two main characters, one that's blue and one that's orange, in a blue environment, because you want the orange one not to go black because you're hitting it with blue light.
There was some concern about Dory disappearing, considering that we're in a lot of blue in this film, and turquoise and things. But that just goes to show you how terrific the lighting staff is here.
Yeah, we're a little hot. So what color is your sunlight? That really super deep, dark blue. Get a good shadow of squirt on the father when he's doing the head nod. Some of this might be in shadow from the cabin.
Yeah.
I'd say the most challenging part of my job is usually we have a lighting crew that's 30 to 40 people, and we're all trying to make the same movie. We're all trying to make shots that look like they could have all been lit by the same person.
It looks awesome. Final.
Graham said, we got to film about water. And, what kind of water? Is there splashing water? Is there pouring water? Are we underwater? Are we above water? Oh, actually, we're all those things. Oh.
Here, you just need the sim of the water being affected by this boat rock. This is the big kickback splash.
Yeah. The producer half of my brain looks at a schedule and goes, I cannot splash water in 800 shots. I cannot afford to do this. Okay, the director half of my brain says, we're going to splash water in 1,200 shots. Every shot needs a splash because we're in water. Okay, both are not really true, so where's the middle ground? If you do it right, you get a couple shots you spend a lot of money on that look just, they're so cool. You just melt. They're amazing. And the water does everything. It's completely real. We totally controlled it. And you feel like a rock star. There are a couple shots you do about half that in, and a couple shots you don't do very much in at all. And if you pick just the right ones to spend your money there, as an audience member, you watch it and you believe the whole thing.
Almost 3.5 years. That's a long time to work on something and still not know whether or not it works. I mean, I thought it worked, and I thought it worked the first year that I worked on it.
It's like you never really know until you see it with that preview audience, especially when you've seen it so many times.
2 years later, after a lot of dead ends or wrong turns and changes, you just get sort of beaten down.
About the 20th time, you're not laughing at that joke anymore, and you forget that that joke's funny.
I was in a very vulnerable state, and I think the whole production was. We just didn't know what we had. So when those lights went down, my stomach was just churning, and I was practically hiding my face because I didn't know. Not only did the screening go well, they were the best 2 screenings we've ever had in Pixar's history. It was amazing. I found myself realizing that I had pretty much followed Father's journey and gotten to the point where I was just seeing everything half empty. And that was my moment of seeing things half full, for this picture.
The time we'd taken to get the story right really paid off. It was really resonating with the audience, and of course, it was also the shot in the arm we needed to come back home and go, all right, let's crank this thing out, let's go.
Take an audience to a place you want it to go and they get there, that's just unbelievably satisfying, because that means that all the stuff you spent doing for years and years and years actually worked.
It's been a long, tough road, but we've all been there before, and we know that it's worth it. It's worth all the hard work.
I've always known, even in the darkest days of the making of this movie was going to be stunning. And it is.
Once the dust settled, I feel like, wow, Now, this movie isn't exactly what it was when I planned it, but when I watch it, it's exactly what I wanted to feel like.
Dad, you can let go now.
Sorry. Now go have an adventure.
Bye, Elmo!
Nemo.
Nemo! Bye, Nemo! See you after school, Dory! Bye, Dad!
Bye, son.